The invitation arrived on thick ivory paper, sealed with a golden crest, House of Devika, embossed in scarlet foil. Lara held it between trembling fingers as if it might vanish. It was her first time attending the Celestia Fashion Gala, the most elite fashion event in the country, where couture met cruelty under chandeliers made of tears. She had borrowed her dress and off-white sheath with delicate beading from a retired stylist friend. Her shoes pinched. Her makeup was light, maybe too light for a room full of contour queens. She clutched her vintage clutch like a lifeline and stepped out of the cab, surrounded by flashes and shouted names. No one shouted hers. Lara Singh, 34, a former textile artisan from a small town, now a silent assistant to a mid-level buyer at Elan Mode. Not a single label had her name, yet. As she climbed the marble steps, her breath caught. Inside, it was like walking into a dream made of silk and spite. 100 glass-bodied women turned in unison, their eyes slicing her silhouette like scissors on muslin. "Lara, is that you?" a too-sweet voice rang out. She turned. Riva Malhotra stood there, India's newest fashion darling, heiress to the Malhotra Mills empire and creative director of House of Devika. She was clad in a crimson sari gown hybrid, her cheekbones sharp enough to draw blood. "It's really you," Riva said again, smiling thinly. "I almost didn't recognize you without your notebook and chai tray." A few snickers floated from the ring of models and interns clinging to Riva's elbows. Lara froze. The old burn came back. She had once been Riva's right hand, her sketch artist, her confidant, her shadow. And then, one scandal later, she was gone, unceremoniously fired, accused of stealing designs she had created. "I was invited," Lara said quietly. "Of course you were. We like to be inclusive these days," Riva said, stepping closer. "Though next time, maybe check the dress code. This isn't a flea market." Laughter, quick, sharp like camera shutters. Lara's throat tightened. Around her, champagne flowed like gossip and nobody blinked. Just like always, beautiful people with brutal tongues. She turned to leave. That's when a voice stopped her. "Lara Singh." Everyone turned. The crowd parted like a silk curtain. A tall man in a tailored gray suit approached, broad-shouldered with a face that seemed familiar, too familiar. It was Arav Mehta, a tech mogul turned investor, co-founder of Fro Fashion Runway Online Worldwide, and her childhood friend, her secret keeper, the one who'd once promised her the world under a mango tree. Riva's smile faltered. Arav reached Lara's side, his voice warm but firm. "You didn't tell me you were coming. I would have arranged something better." Whispers, cameras clicking. Riva looked like she'd swallowed her own cheekbones. Lara stood straighter. "Didn't know you two were acquainted," Riva said, trying to recover. "Oh, we go way back," Arav said, then to Lara, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Come on, you don't belong with bottom feeders." And just like that, the night turned. 3 years earlier, Lara's hands were always stained with charcoal, with thread dye, with the color of dreams. Back then, she lived in a one-room flat above a printing press, eating Maggie twice a day, dreaming thrice. But she was happy, hungry, yes, but with the kind of hunger that gives life a heartbeat. At 29, she was discovered by Mira Kathari, a renowned designer known for her cruel tongue and brilliant vision. Mira had seen one of Lara's hand-drawn sketches on a mood board at a textile fair in Lucknow and plucked her out of obscurity. "You have talent," Mira had said, "but talent is useless without loyalty." Lara nodded like a disciple. She became Mira's protégé, working late nights, sketching silently during meetings, always staying in the background while Mira took bows. Lara never complained. She believed her time would come. It almost did. Then came the Kanpur collection, the line that was supposed to change everything. The theme was rustic royalty, and Lara had poured her soul into it. Inspired by her grandmother's old saris, she had designed 12 pieces from scratch, each one echoing a story from her childhood. The night before the press preview, Mira called Lara into her office. "These sketches," Mira paused, "they're too sentimental, not commercial enough." Lara's heart sank. "I think we shelve them," Mira said. Lara didn't sleep that night. But when the lights came on at the Kanpur collection launch, every single design on the runway was hers. And Mira took the credit. Lara stood backstage, numb, smiling politely as fashion editors raved and Vogue India called Mira a genius of reinvention. She wanted to scream, but she said nothing, because in that world, saying something meant you were replaceable. Then came the second blow, Riva Malhotra. Riva was Mira's niece and intern at the time, always hanging around, wide-eyed and sugary sweet. Lara had once let her copy an old sketch for practice. 2 weeks later, that exact design appeared on Riva's Instagram with no credit, captioned, "Inspired by a dream I had." When Lara confronted her privately, Riva smirked, "You should be grateful, no one would have seen it otherwise." Lara didn't tell Mira, she didn't want to sound petty. But someone else told. A week later, Lara was summoned to the HR office, accused of plagiarism, accused of leaking designs, accused of stealing from her mentors. The irony made her laugh until she saw Mira's signature on the dismissal letter. "You disappointed me," Mira had said coldly. "I thought you were different." No investigation, no exit interview, just a security guard escorting her out. She remembered standing in the rain outside the studio gates, her portfolio waterlogged, her reputation ruined. Fashion blogs picked it up, influencers whispered, brands blacklisted her. In the blink of an eye, Lara Singh went from rising star to industry pariah. Even her closest friend Nisha distanced herself. "I just can't be seen defending you," Nisha had said over the phone. "I'm trying to get my own label off the ground, you understand, right?" Lara said nothing. She understood. She understood everything. For the next 2 years, she worked quietly, taking odd jobs, freelancing under fake names, designing bridal outfits in small boutiques. She watched as Riva rose to power, launching her own label with money, connections, and Lara's stolen spark. But Lara didn't forget. She stored everything: screenshots, email trails, sketchbook scans, even an old voice memo Mira accidentally sent her praising Lara's designs and calling them pure gold. She buried her anger beneath silence and waited. And then one afternoon, a name popped up on her phone. Arav Mehta. They hadn't spoken in years, not since college, but there he was, calling from a new number, now a global CEO. "I need someone with vision," he said. "Someone real. I'm building something new, fro, tech meets fashion, and I haven't forgotten you, Lara." She didn't cry, but her fingers shook. "I'm not the same," she had whispered. "Good," Arav replied. "Neither am I." And that's when she knew her time hadn't passed, it had just paused. The venue shimmered like a hallucination, mirrored ceilings, flickering LED floors, and oversized orchid installations hanging from invisible threads. Devika Unveiled was the biggest fashion launch of the year, and the elite had turned out in full force. Stylists, celebrities, journalists, and social media influencers with diamond-studded teeth and camera crews in tow. Lara stood near the back, careful not to draw attention. Her invitation had been real, forwarded by an old friend who still owed her more than a few favors. But the looks she received when she entered told her what people really thought: she didn't belong. She tried to focus on the clothes. The new collection was disappointingly derivative, copper-toned silks with mirror work draped like reinvented lehengas. Ironically, the embroidery was eerily familiar. She knew it because she had once designed a similar motif, and Riva Malhotra had seen that sketch. She had a glass of water in her hand, standing quietly in the corner when the lights suddenly dimmed. Music swelled, deep, aggressive bass that turned the mood sharp. The runway hadn't even started yet. Something was wrong. A spotlight flashed overhead, then flicked directly toward her. A distorted voice echoed through the speakers. "Security, we have a breach. Someone without verified clearance has entered the press area." There was a pause, heads turned, silence held its breath. Then 2 large security guards, dressed in black and wearing earpieces, began walking toward her with alarming purpose. Lara's heart slammed against her ribs. "Wait, I have an invite," she said, fumbling for her clutch. The guards didn't slow. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us." She held up her badge. "It's legit. It was forwarded from." "We were told this was forged," the taller one interrupted. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A camera turned toward them. One of the guards lightly took her by the elbow. "Please don't make this difficult." And that's when the laughter began, not loud but worse, soft, mocking, knowing. From her left, someone whispered, "That's the fraud designer, right?" No, she was the assistant who stole those designs, the one Mira sued. Didn't Riva expose her? An influencer on the mezzanine balcony live-streamed the entire moment. "You guys, this is insane," she said to her phone camera, smirking. "That disgraced designer is crashing Devika unveiled. Total meltdown energy." The hashtag storm ignited within seconds. Joran Chiffin. From runway to run out. Fake it till you get escorted. As Lara was led down the central aisle past rows of the rich and ruthless, she tried to keep her chin high, but her vision blurred, her ears rang. No one came to her defense, not a single person, not even the designers she had ghost sketched for, not even the journalists who had once praised her anonymous craftsmanship. And standing at the top of the runway, watching it all with a slow, deliberate smile, was Riva Malhotra. Her voice carried like perfume over a corpse. "Fashion should be sacred," she said, speaking to the cameras. "We must protect it from those who try to leech off the brilliance of others." People clapped, the crowd roared. Lara stopped walking. She turned slowly to face Riva. The guards paused, uncertain. She didn't say a word. She just stared long, unblinking, full of quiet fury. The clapping faltered. For a second, even Riva seemed unsettled. Then Lara turned back around and walked out on her own, the laughter and whispers still chasing her like dogs in the dark. Outside, the night air was cool. The city hummed indifferently. She stopped at the curb and finally let her tears fall, not out of sadness but out of rage. They thought this was the end. But Lara Singh had only just begun. Lara didn't sleep that night. She didn't even go home. She sat in a tiny all-night cafe across the street from the Devika HQ, sipping bitter coffee and watching the rain smear the city lights. Her phone buzzed nonstop, notifications from social media, friends sending her videos of the humiliation, some even laughing behind emojis. At 3:17 a.m., she texted one name, Arav Mehta. By 9:00 a.m., she was sitting across from him in a private conference room at Fro headquarters. Sleek walls, touchscreen glass, and a skyline view that screamed money, but Arav's eyes were fixed only on her. "I'm sorry," he said first. "I should have been there." Lara said nothing for a long moment. Then, "You've built something powerful, but you said you wanted it to stand for truth, for talent. Did you mean it?" He nodded, every word. "Then help me burn the lies down." She slid a flash drive across the table. Arav plugged it in, his brows furrowed as he clicked through folder after folder. Dated sketches, original drafts, voice memos from Mira, calendar screenshots showing timestamps, a video file titled Security Footage, Studio 7. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "I kept everything, I just never had a platform. You do." Arav leaned back stunned. "This is irrefutable." She nodded. It's time they remembered who drew the first line. By noon, a press email had gone out. Exclusive, Fro to host emergency industry forum on copyright abuse in Indian fashion. By 3:00 p.m., the invite list had been leaked. By 6:00, the fashion world was buzzing, speculating, whispers that something big was coming, that someone powerful was backing that disgraced designer. Riva's camp laughed it off online. Memes continued. Lara remained silent. Until the following night. The venue was small but high-profile, a glass-encased rooftop hall reserved for only the most private tech launches. There were no influencers invited, no PR plants, just fashion journalists, industry veterans, and a few nervous assistants clutching iPads. Lara walked in wearing the same outfit she'd been mocked for, her off-white sheath dress, now paired with a navy blue trench coat cinched with a bronze silk sash. Arav took the mic first. "Tonight's not about drama," he began. "It's about data, about facts, about accountability. The fashion industry talks a lot about originality, but we rarely protect the original voices." He turned to Lara. She stepped forward, holding nothing but a small remote. Click. The screen behind her lit up. Slide 1, a sketch dated 2021, her signature visible in the corner. Slide 2, the same design posted on Riva Malhotra's Instagram 6 months later. Slide 3, a timestamped email from Lara to Mira, describing that very design in detail. Slide 4, a grainy but clear video, security footage from House of Devika's private studio, showing Riva flipping through Lara's sketchbook. The room went silent. "Is that real?" someone whispered. "Absolutely," Arav answered. "Our legal team has already verified everything." Lara's voice was calm. I was made a villain because it was easier than admitting the truth, but I never stopped creating, I never stopped watching, and I never stopped remembering who I am. Click. Slide 5, a waveform and audio clip. Mira's voice from a saved voice memo, laughing and saying, "Of course they're Lara's designs, she doesn't even know how brilliant she is. We'll clean it up and call it ours." Click. Slide 6, a legal notice. The watermark of Fro Legal Consortium printed boldly across it. Pending arbitration, Singh vs. Malhotra Fashion Group, copyright theft, defamation, and loss of livelihood. The journalists began typing furiously. Phones buzzed with silent recording. But the biggest moment came last. Click. Slide 7, a short video, edited from live footage the night before of Lara being escorted out, juxtaposed against the screenshots, the receipts, the voice memos. RF leaned in. "We live in the age of proof," and Lara Singh just dropped all of it. Lara looked up. "This isn't just for me, it's for every intern, every assistant, every quiet genius who's ever been erased by someone with more followers." The crowd didn't applaud, not yet. It was the kind of silence that only came when the truth finally cut through the noise. Outside, Twitter was already exploding. Lara was framed. Give credit, not clout. House of Devika exposed. And back in her penthouse, Riva Malhotra watched her phone screen freeze before her team could turn it off. For the first time in her life, she felt something she didn't recognize. Fear. The next morning, it wasn't just fashion blogs talking. It was India Today, BBC World, BOF. Headlines screamed from every corner of the internet. Designer Lara Singh drops bombshell evidence in fashion copyright scandal. Riva Malhotra accused of plagiarism and defamation in leaked audio. Fro hosts unprecedented industry forum, proof not PR. For the first time in 3 years, the story was hers. But Lara knew media noise wasn't enough. She needed structure, she needed consequence. That afternoon, she walked into the office of Priya Sethai, a litigation specialist who had built her career suing the untouchable. Priya looked over the files, barely blinking. "You've been sitting on a goldmine of proof," she said, flipping through dated sketches and metadata logs. "I can get you settlement offers by tomorrow. You'll never have to work again." "I don't want silence money," Lara said. "I want acknowledgement. I want them to say my name." Priya nodded slowly. "Then we go public, arbitration first if they resist court." "Let's begin." By 5:00 p.m., official documents were submitted to the Fashion Design Federation of India, an emergency request for a grievance hearing. It wasn't just a formality. If the Federation found Lara's claims valid, it could revoke design licenses, cancel event invitations, and blacklist brands from premier shows. The Federation chairwoman, a stoic woman named Nalini Rao, agreed to a special closed hearing the next morning. But she wasn't alone. Her panel included 3 senior designers, a federal copyright officer, and 2 international observers from the Ethical Fashion Alliance. Riva arrived with an army, lawyers in tailored suits, PR handlers armed with talking points, and her uncle, a well-known political fixer. Mira did not show, no surprise. Lara arrived with only Priya and a tech assistant named Yash, barely 22, nervous and brilliant. He'd helped recover corrupted timestamps from Lara's old laptop. As the hearing began, Nalini gestured calmly. "We are not here for drama, we are here for facts. Ms. Singh, present your evidence." Lara stood, no makeup, no theatrics, just the truth. Slide by slide, she walked the panel through 3 years of silent theft. Sketches, emails, screenshots, audio clips. And finally, Yash's piece de resistance, an animated timeline that overlaid Lara's design dates with Riva's launch posts, synced to backend file creation data pulled from Riva's old website, publicly cached. Every corner Riva tried to deny, the metadata countered. "Impossible," Riva's lawyer said. "That timestamp could have been edited." Yash piped up, "Not unless she hacked the Wayback Machine, and I'm fairly sure your client doesn't know how that works." A ripple of laughter passed through the room. Nalini leaned forward. "Ms. Malhotra, do you have any original sketches to submit for comparison?" Riva opened her folder, blank pages, copied Pinterest boards, a dress doodle on hotel stationery, nothing remotely close to what had walked her runways. "No further questions," Priya said. The room went quiet. Then Nalini spoke, "The evidence is conclusive. Lara Singh is the original creator of the disputed works. The Federation will be issuing a statement of validation immediately. A full report will be sent to our international partners." Riva stood, jaw clenched. "This is political. You're trying to destroy a woman at her peak." "No," Nalini replied. "You did that to yourself. We're just showing the receipts." That night, the Federation posted the findings to their official site. Within an hour, they were on every news outlet. Lara Singh cleared of plagiarism allegations. Federation rules in her favor. Riva Malhotra's label under review. Federation demands accountability. Industry watches as icon falls, underdog rises. Even more damning were the leaks. Someone from Riva's inner circle had shared internal emails with journalists. One included Mira writing, "We can bury this girl, no one will care where it came from." But people did care now. Brands began to distance themselves. Devika's partnership with an international retailer was paused for internal evaluation. Mira's upcoming showcase was mysteriously cancelled. Sponsors pulled out, hashtags flipped. "We stand with Lara. Credit the creator." Fashion reckoning. But the most surprising moment came 2 days later, when Mira Kathari herself appeared on a grainy Zoom call aired by Fashion Insider India. "I made mistakes," she said, carefully reading from a statement, "and I benefited from someone else's brilliance. I deeply regret how Lara Singh was treated. She deserves full credit." The fashion world watched in stunned silence. It wasn't humility, it was survival. And Lara knew it. But she didn't care. She hadn't done it for apologies. She'd done it so no one could ever call her a fraud again. Back at the Fro office, Arav stood by the window as the city glittered below. "She'll be done after this," he said. "Mira too." "No," Lara replied. "They'll rebrand, disappear, come back in 2 years with soft colors and a fake cause. That's the industry." Arav looked at her. "And you?" Lara smiled. "I'm just getting started." It didn't happen all at once. No, collapse is never dramatic at first. It begins with quiet emails, polite cancellations, press releases phrased in neutral tones, but Lara recognized the signs instantly. The morning after the Federation ruling, House of Devika's flagship store in Mumbai shuttered its windows. "Renovation," the sign read, but those inside knew better. Riva's private investors had begun pulling out one after another. By noon, her email to Red Thread Ventures had bounced back with a cold auto-response. "We are no longer affiliated with Ms. Malhotra or her business interests." Then came the press leak, a leaked internal memo from Riva's own PR manager, apologizing for failure to adequately vet creative assets and protect the brand's long-term credibility. Within hours, the damage spiraled. 3 luxury magazine editors rescinded Riva's cover features. A high-profile Bollywood actress tagged her stylist in a post with the words, "Let's use ORIGINALS next time, nail medium." Even a perfume brand quietly erased Riva's name from their promotional campaign, replacing it with collaborative creative. Inside the Devika headquarters, chaos reigned. Staff argued in glass-walled rooms. Designers sent resignation emails. A few interns cried openly, fearing for their careers. Riva paced her office in silence, gripping her phone like it could still control something, anything. But the final blow came from an unexpected place. Paris Fashion Week issued a statement. Due to ongoing legal and ethical concerns, House of Devika's participation has been suspended pending investigation. Riva dropped the phone, literally. It shattered against the floor, much like the reputation she had spent a decade building. She turned to her remaining assistant, voice shaking. "Get me Mira." She's in Bali," the assistant whispered. "She's not answering calls." Riva's eyes narrowed. The silence was deafening now. Meanwhile, Lara sat in a cafe just 2 blocks away, sipping tea as she refreshed her news feed. She wasn't smiling, not exactly, but there was a stillness in her like the calm that comes after a storm proves you right. "Are you going to respond?" Arav had asked her earlier. "No," Lara said. "Let the silence speak this time. The noise is theirs to answer for." At Devika HQ, the silence was turning into a scream. By the end of the week, Riva's company had lost 62% of its revenue pipeline. Lawsuits followed. 2 junior designers who had also been erased came forward with their own receipts. Collaborators bylaid. comment sections turned. Even her most loyal followers stopped defending her. The myth of perfection had cracked, and no influencer could filter that. Riva Malhotra had built her kingdom on borrowed brilliance. And now that kingdom was burning. 6 weeks later, the building was still raw concrete and exposed beams, but Lara didn't care. She stood barefoot in the middle of the open studio space, tracing the sunlight as it poured through the unfinished skylight. The scent of paint and fresh fabric mingled in the air, more sacred than any perfume. This was hers. Not borrowed. Not stolen. Sing Studio, a name that had once been a whisper in her notebook margins, was now painted in bold gold lettering across the glass door. There were no legacy investors, no corporate board. Just vision. Just her. And a group of underdogs who knew exactly what it meant to be underestimated. Lara D, a nervous voice called from the hallway. The thread samples just came in. Should I unpack them by color or texture? Lara turned to see Tara, the intern who had once cried quietly at Devika HQ when her sketchbook was taken and never returned. Now she stood tall, clipboard in hand, her hair tied up in a messy but determined bun. Sort them by mood, Lara smiled. We're designing with feeling this time, not trends. Tara nodded and disappeared down the hallway, the sound of her footsteps echoing with purpose. Arev arrived minutes later, wearing his usual black on black, holding 2 steaming cups of filter coffee. So this is where the revolution begins, he asked, passing her one. No, Lara said, gazing out the window. This is where healing begins. She had made a quiet promise to herself. She wouldn't just build a brand. She would build a refuge. Her first hires were not from fashion schools or portfolios bursting with awards. She brought in the ones the industry had tossed aside, the sketch artist who had gone viral on TikTok only to be ghosted by big labels, the pattern maker who left after her boss took credit for every drape, the woman who cleaned the studios but had a sharp eye for color. Each one walked in unsure, each one left their first meeting in tears. Because Lara said what no one else had ever told them. I see you. The first collection came together not in silence but in laughter, debate, and long nights filled with chai and old Bollywood songs. There were no NDAs, no secrecy. Every design was a collaboration. Credit lines were shared. Sketchbooks remained open. Tara created a line of wrap skirts inspired by street vendors. Dev, a former assistant cutter, proposed a modern silhouette using recycled saris. Even Arev's tech team pitched in, developing an AI-powered tool that let rural artisans preview their fabrics in real time. It wasn't polished, but it was honest, and that made it revolutionary. 2 months later, Sing Studio debuted its collection not at a gala or fashion week, but at a community art hall in South Mumbai. The walls were draped in unfinished muslin. The floor was concrete. The chairs were mismatched. The runway, just a stretch of woven jute. And yet, when the first model walked out barefoot in a hand-dyed indigo cord set inspired by Lara's hometown, the room went utterly still. It wasn't just a show. It was a story. Each piece was introduced by a short video, the artisan behind it, the team member who designed it, the village where the fabric came from. Faces, not logos. Voices, not campaigns. By the time the final model, Tara herself, walked out in a minimalist embroidered cape titled Return, the entire room stood in ovation. Even the skeptics. Even the ones who hadn't believed. Afterward, a well-known editor from Vogue India approached Lara quietly. You've redefined the runway, she said. This feels alive. Lara smiled. It should. Fashion isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be human. The reviews the next day weren't just glowing. They were devotional. Lara Singh's comeback is a masterclass in conscious creation. The future of Indian fashion does look like Paris. It looks like this. More than a brand, Sing Studio is a movement. Riva watched it all from a quiet hotel in Jaipur, her Instagram now a ghost town. She hadn't posted in weeks. She wouldn't admit it out loud, but when she saw Tara's final walk, she cried. Not because she was sorry, but because she finally understood what she'd never been able to fake. Grace. Later that evening, as the Sing Studio team gathered around a tiny cake lit with too many candles, Lara held her glass up. To the misfits, she said, to the stolen, the silenced, the ones who kept creating even in the dark. They clinked their glasses. Tara leaned in and whispered, "What's next, Lara D?" Lara looked around the room, full of heart, hope, and second chances. She smiled. Everything. The invitation was crisp white, embossed with gold. It read, "The Fashion Federation of India invites Lara Singh as guest of honor and keynote speaker at the annual industry gala." For a second, Lara just stared at it. Not long ago, she'd watched this same event from the sidelines, uninvited, unacknowledged. She remembered the lights, the glamour, the speeches by people who had forgotten her name, people who had whispered and laughed when she was shoved out. Now those same people would sit and wait to hear what she had to say. Not a panel, not a featurette, keynote. Still, she didn't say yes immediately. She thought about it for days. She had built Sing Studio not for this moment, but for the people in her workshop, for those who had stayed, for the ones who had nothing and still shared everything. But Arav was right when he finally said it. "You don't need to prove anything, Lara, but they need to hear it anyway." And so she agreed. The gala was held at the Taj Palace, lit in gold and velvet, chandeliers like constellations. Everyone was there: editors, moguls, influencers, international buyers, even Mira Kathari in a quiet back row, her head bowed just enough to look repentant. Riva was absent. Rumors said she had left the country. Some whispered about rehab. Others said she'd started consulting under a fake name. Lara didn't care. The story was no longer about her. The room hushed as the stage lights shifted. The host introduced her not as a survivor or a controversy, but simply, "Please welcome designer, founder, and visionary, Lara Singh." She stepped onto the stage in a hand-woven indigo sari, no jewelry but a silver cuff. Her team sat in the front row, dressed in their own designs: Tara, Dev, even the quiet printmaker from Nagaland who had flown in just for this. Lara looked out across the sea of faces, some smiling, some stiff, all watching. Then she spoke. "3 years ago, I was laughed out of this room. Not metaphorically, literally. I was accused, erased, and dismissed, not because I lacked talent, but because I lacked power. And when I tried to speak up, I was told I was being difficult, emotional, unprofessional. But the truth is, none of this is new. In every corner of this industry, there are voices being drowned out. Young artists whose names are scrubbed from credits. Rural artisans whose patterns are copied and mass-produced without permission. Interns whose work becomes someone else's resume. You all know it, some of you have done it, some of you are victims of it. But today, I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to offer a new way forward. Sing Studio is not perfect. We're small, we're learning every day, but we are built on one simple idea. No more stolen names. No more silent partnerships. No more gatekeeping dressed as glamour. Because fashion should elevate, not exploit. And creativity should never come with an expiration date or a blood price." She paused, letting the words land. Even the cameras were still. Then she continued. "So here's what we're doing. Starting this year, Sing Studio is launching an open-source archive for young designers, free access to patterns, tools, and mentorship. We're also launching Project Threadline, a collaboration fund that pays artisans directly and puts their names on every tag. And we're working with the Federation to create an ethics seal so that the next time a girl from a small town walks into an office with a sketchbook, she knows she's protected." By now, the room had shifted. The murmurs were gone. Mira was crying. Several editors looked away. Lara finished quietly. "I'm not here because I won. I'm here because I survived long enough to build something better. And now I'm opening the door. Not for applause, but so no one has to knock the way I did." She stepped back. For a moment there was nothing. Then came the first clap. And then the next. Until the whole room stood. Not because they had to, but because they understood. This wasn't revenge. This was rebirth. Outside, after the event, a young girl in oversized glasses approached Lara, holding a worn sketchpad. "Hi, ma'am," she said nervously. "I don't want anything. I just wanted to say thank you for surviving so that we know it's possible." Lara took her hand gently. "You won't need to survive," she said. "You'll get to create." A week later, the speech went viral, subtitled in 10 languages. Designers in Lagos, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo reposted it. Schools added it to their curriculum. Vogue titled it. The speech that changed fashion forever. But for Lara, the real reward came quietly. The door of her studio swinging open each morning. Tahir's laugh echoing off the walls. A new intern sketching by the window, unaware of the battles that made this space safe. And the feeling deep, quiet, unwavering that she had turned pain into purpose. Not with fire, but with thread. And now, she was unstoppable.